When I played through Streets of Rage 4 just over a year ago, I noticed something almost immediately. There were some boss characters that felt just a little too fleshed out to simply remain bosses you fight in a scrolling beat 'em up. Not to mention, 2 of them had been playable characters in previous entries of the series. Needless to say, when the Mr. X Nightmare DLC was announced a few months ago, my suspicions were confirmed and my excitement took over. Now it's finally here and I got to spend some time going through it all, so let's get stuck in. This is our review of the Mr. X Nightmare DLC for Streets of Rage 4. As many of you would know, I absolutely loved Streets of Rage 4. I gave it a 9.0 in my review when it released last year. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with what's on offer here with the latest Mr. X Nightmare DLC, particularly at this price point. But alongside the Nightmare DLC, we also get a free update to the game, which also added some worthwhile improvements. In total, between the Mr. X Nightmare DLC and the free update, Streets of Rage 4 players will be able to enjoy 3 new playable characters in Estelle, Max and Shiva, a survival mode, new weapons, new enemies, new music, a free training mode, a free selection of colour palette swaps, mania plus difficulty, and various refinements and balance changes. Now let's start with the characters. Now Streets of Rage 4 already had a beefy lineup of playable characters once you unlocked them all. Yes, many were simply older versions of the same character, but they all feel so different to each other, as well as having different power ratings and movesets, that they might as well be completely different characters. The new additions of Max, Shiva and Estelle are welcome ones, and as I alluded to earlier, kind of expected. Anyone who played through Streets of Rage 4 will have most likely noticed how fleshed out all those 3 bosses felt compared to the others. The fact that both Max and Shiva were playable in previous iterations of the franchise meant it wasn't very hard to see they would become playable at a later date. All 3 play and feel how you'd expect them to. Max is a bit slower, more cumbersome, but is all power and can be a bit of a locomotive once he gets going. Shiva is a beautiful blend of speed and power where an experienced player can almost create a brutal ballet of combos, throws and air attacks, but be warned, he can't carry weapons. Estelle, who is the second genuinely new playable character in the game, is more of your all-rounder. Reminds me a lot of Adam in playstyle. While she doesn't have the sheer power of Max or the fluidity and speed of Shiva, she does have incredible reach on her entire suite of attacks, which can actually come in handy in mob situations. Now, the new survival mode in Streets of Rage 4 is arguably the best extra mode the series has ever seen. It's ridiculously meaty, is different all the time, and encourages the player to return frequently with a simple but rewarding unlock system. Like all survival modes, you get 1 life, and you just survive as long as you can, completing each level as you go. With each level you complete, you pick between 2 or 3 perks that carry with you as you go on. This could be a starting weapon, an ally that fights with you, or a buff of some kind. Every few stages you make your way through, you'll come across an almost boss type level where you'll take on at least 1, if not potentially multiple boss equivalent enemies from the main game, as well as regular minions. While the difficulty level on the bosses isn't to the same standard as the main game, they're just tough enough to potentially cause a headache if you don't have your wits about you. Upon death, you'll receive various unlocks like artwork and also level up the character you've chosen. As that character levels up, they unlock new moves which can then be used in other modes of the game. This is a fantastic incentive to play the survival mode, as well as going back to the main game to give the new moves a run through or go for that S rank. It's clear real thought has gone into this survival mode, and it's well worth the price of admission alongside the new playable characters. Now on to the training mode. Not a whole ton needs to be said about the training mode. Anyone who has played a fighting game tutorial mode before will find this one pretty familiar. You select the training you'd like to take on, and once you do, you'll find yourself in a standard grid room, and a prompt will appear on screen with the buttons you need to push to perform whatever relevant move you need to before moving on to the next one. It's rudimentary, yes, but for a game with as much depth in its fighting system as Streets of Rage 4, it's a welcome addition nonetheless. particularly given it's part of a free update for all owners or Game Pass subscribers with the game downloaded. Now the question ultimately is it worth it? Now even in isolation, Mr. X Nightmare is worth the small price of admission, as well as the 3 new characters that all bring their own unique playstyle to an already large cast. The survival mode is a fantastic addition that's well worth your time and adds potentially dozens upon dozens of hours of extra playtime to the game. Unlocking every character's new moves won't be a quick task. It will take some time, but you'll have a lot of fun doing so if you enjoyed your time with the base game. The fact that the DLC also includes new enemies, weapons and even music to further freshen up the game just makes the entire package a must for any fans of the base game. When you add in all the free content and changes that come alongside the DLC, by the way, only try Mania Plus if you don't like yourself, Lizard Cube have done a magnificent job breathing new life into this year-old title, and you should definitely jump in. And as always, if you like our stuff, please like, subscribe, follow us on our socials, and if you don't mind sparing a coffee a month, support us on Patreon, and of course be sure to visit xboxzero.com for more. Ciao for now.